Hello, everybody. Welcome to Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. I'm Rob, and I'm joined here by my brother, Brad.
What's up?
First, we'd like to start off, as always, with the news stories of the week that have caught our attention. So I'm going to start off with something that I just read about. Guitar Hero is coming to the DS. And this is, I'm going to say exciting.
Will you buy this?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Because I really like Rock Band enough as it is, and it's so much better an experience. But what they actually have is a 4-button fretboard that plugs into the cartridge slot. If you own a DS, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it also has a little pick for strumming on the screen. And so you strum, and 4 buttons as opposed to 5. I guess that makes it easier.
Maybe.
The one other interesting thing I noticed while watching the video unveiling of it was that at some point the guitar that the kid is playing catches fire on the screen.
Oh, wow.
And he has to blow into the DS microphone to cool it off. The true rock and roll experience? Question mark?
Maybe.
What about you, Brad? You got any news stories for us?
For me, probably the biggest news story this week was, let's see if I can get this full title correct. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix is actually going to be available in beta form to people who purchased Commando 3. And that'll be available for $10 on Xbox Live. They're actually not going to do it on PlayStation Network. But the same information coming from the beta users on Xbox will contribute to the bettering of the PlayStation 3 version of the game. So I thought that was exciting, and you know what? Like, I'm such a big Street Fighter fan, I probably will end up buying this just to be able to get into that beta.
Yeah, it sounds like a smart move on Capcom's side. I remember when just plain old Street Fighter 2 came out on Xbox Live Arcade, a lot of people were very disappointed because the latency, like the network issues that they were having. And so I think by opening up this beta, it allows them to address that before the final release. I'm totally already sold on it. I know you are too.
There was recently a video posted. It really does look like a new game. The artwork is just so crisp and delicious. I love it.
You have to wonder if it's almost going to be causing competition for Street Fighter 4, because Street Fighter 4 is trying so hard to almost recreate Street Fighter 2 that why not just get this cheaper, better-looking game that actually is Street Fighter 2?
I think either way you go, whether you're a 2D fan or a 3D fan, it's going to be a kick-butt year for Street Fighter, so I'm excited.
It's strange. I mean, Capcom's other main property coming to America, Bionic Commando, is doing the same thing. It must be like some sort of internal policy. They're like, well, if they complain, they have another game to go to.
There's going to be the old school and the 3D Bionic Commando.
Also, you and I just watched the brand new Incredible Hulk movie trailer.
We did?
Yeah, as opposed to The Hulk, which was the terrible, terrible Ang Lee movie that came out, what was it, 2002? 3? Okay.
Yeah.
Not worth remembering.
I've never seen Hulk, and it's because of comments like that.
Yeah, but this movie looks awesome. Edward Norton's in it, of Fight Club fame. He's kind of a skinny guy. He's a lanky-looking character, and to have him turn into the Hulk, it actually is kind of cool, you know?
I thought that, I don't know about you, we just watched the teaser for the first time. I thought the effects actually looked pretty much identical in quality to the Hulk film of 2003, but, you know, this goes to show that effects have reached such a point that, you know, it's really now about the story. If this story is really good, it will probably make the effects seem even more awesome, even though, you know, they, to me, are comparable to the Hulk film.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, however, for the Hulk film, it was one of those movies that carried the title, you know, the special effects event of the summer.
Right,
just like,
I mean, you can throw CG at anything. You know, in the old days, a film like Ben-Hur, you had to gather 10,000 extras. You couldn't fake it. And the only way to gather that many people to make an epic battle scene was to have a great script. Now, you know, you can have a horrible storyline and just throw gobs of money at it and make it look like an epic, but of course it's not an epic.
Well, the trailer itself has me really excited, and it's because the first 3/4 of it, you don't see a special effect.
Right.
It's Edward Norton acting. And, you know, it almost was kind of weird whenever all of a sudden there is this special effect, which is the Abomination.
He was the first level boss in the Super Nintendo video game. So, you know, there's got to be something there, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm definitely excited. So that's the news.
Cool.
All right, now we're going to move on to the review, more or less, portion of our show. Actually, I would say this is more of a impressions segment.
Okay.
This week we're going to be talking about the new release, Condemned to Bloodshot. Particularly, we've been playing the Xbox 360 version.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited to hear this because I don't know, but I have some feelings about this game. What did you think of Condemned to Bloodshot?
Well, I'll start off by saying that this is the kind of game that I generally hate. Senselessly violent, aggro, kind of gritty, with a Slipknot soundtrack, you know?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily my flavor of game, but actually I enjoyed it quite a bit. To be sure, it does deliver on the aggro part of that. I mean, the main character, his name is Ethan Thomas, is a alcoholic hobo with bloodshot eyes and gray skin. So it delivers on that, you know, and then when it kicks in at the beginning, he's like in this bar, you know, just freaking out. And I thought, okay, this is not the character I want to be. But while playing it, you know, time and time again, it would distinguish itself in ways that I didn't expect. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go on a limb and say I think these graphics are as good as BioShock and almost as good as Gears of War.
Wow.
Everything is gritty, everything is dirty and gooey and pools of blood. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, obviously. It is an M-rated game, and it goes way down into the dark. But you have this flashlight, basically, with eternal batteries that you carry around, and so you're casting a beam of light everywhere you go. And the lighting was just, I thought, really some of the most impressive I've seen. Just like you see your shadow at any point where you're backlit. I felt that it really put you into the mood of the game. When you're in combat, there are guns in this game, but this one opts for like rebar and pipes and things, anything you can beat a hobo with. And you beat a lot of hobos, but when you do, your fists come flying out in front of you and stuff, and you know, it's something that like Prize Fighter on Sega CD promised, but never quite delivered, which is, you know, you'll feel like you're fighting. This, you know, it sounds maybe cheesy, but I actually, you know, felt like, okay, this is more like I'm really in a fight. On that same note, just like me really being in a fight, I got my butt kicked a lot in this game. I had to actually run from shouting hobos a lot to even get through levels.
Just like you in real life, of
exactly,
course.
Much like my real life. I found it to be very challenging, especially since I was only playing it on normal. There was a lot of times whenever I replayed the same section over again. But the thing is that you can almost, again, realistically, you can avoid fights. You can swing a punch, connect with a guy, turn the other way, and run. I mean, it felt very organic. The other con that I would say, besides the difficulty, is that the story is a bit thin and sometimes confusing. And I think that happened because of the connection to Condemned 1, which I didn't play. So some of the things referenced in here, like your boss and your role and these kind of things, and you should probably spell out the story since I've gone this far without even saying anything about it. But if you can, because I found myself kind of going, okay, who are these nut jobs? They would say like, there's all these nut jobs everywhere. I'm like, why? You know, like you really. Several hours in, I had beaten hundreds of hobos, and I had no idea why. You know, because they're all just raged up, and they're shouting at you in the dark, "Ha!" You know, and you have to just run, and you're like, "Why is everyone so mad?" But at the same time, despite all the downsides, I enjoyed myself. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll start with the con, which is the story.
Okay, explain as much as you can for people.
I'll explain as much as I can. You're
there you go. That was it.
That's
Congratulations.
That's it.
Rent it today.
Ethan Thomas is your character. Right. You know this because at the start of the game, you hear your name like 3 times over. It's just like, they must think that this is like the best name ever that they've had for a protagonist. It's like, where is Agent Thomas? Give me Ethan Thomas. My name is Ethan Thomas. You know, sorry. I just get annoyed every time. Anytime somebody walks on frame, the first thing they have to do is like, my name is Bold Logan. You know,
that's an in-joke between Rob and I, but there was a game called, I think, Chrome. Let's just reenact the trailer for the listeners here, okay? So it was, Logan, I thought you died.
I did.
There you go. Take a bow.
Hey.
Anyway, that aside, Ethan Thomas.
Ethan Thomas, and you're in a bar. I'm assuming you're the same guy from Condemned 1, and I will say this is kind of one of the first major flaws of this game. I'm going to say it's a major flaw, is that it doesn't give you any sort of recap of Condemned 1. It doesn't give you... I have no idea what's going on. You know, like, who is this guy with these weird lip, piercings, this kind of disturbed fan? The first level, which so far to me stands out as like this kind of, what on earth am I playing?
Yeah, it's really a little bit disorienting. Not the graphics or anything, but the...
Yeah, just not knowing what's going on.
Right.
Why is there black sludge everywhere? And,
yeah.
Ugh.
It was very moist.
Yeah, you can tell there's top dollar going into these graphics.
Right.
And it was literally when the opening scene started in the game, I could not tell if it was pre-rendered or real-time graphics.
I still couldn't tell you because they're that good during the game too.
Yeah, and that's the sign of good production. Now, the actual act of fighting, like you said, is great. Mm-hmm. It's almost disorienting, and I don't know how I feel about that, because like you said, it is like being in a real fist fight.
Right.
Having never thrown a single punch in our lives without later curling into the fetal position.
Right.
We're just assuming this is what it's like. And so yeah, it's disorienting at times and actually pretty frustrating. I do like how some guys will go down real easy, other guys will take like punch after punch, and it does make it feel real organic, like you said. It's like living these people. You can't really size them up,
It never felt like cheap pre-done animations coming at you. You know what I mean? I don't know. To me, it felt like a living world, and there's a lot of variety in the stages.
Well, I'd say a con for me as far as gameplay is concerned is the level design is just fully disorienting. Mm-hmm. I'm always comparing things to Half-Life and the games designed by Valve, because those games do such a great job of directing you,
of course,
ever so subtly, but directing you where to go. This game is kind of like you're walking around, you hear a noise, but you weren't sure if you were actually supposed to notice something. You kind of just go in one room thinking that this door works, so this must be where I'm supposed to go, as opposed to all these other doors which don't work for some reason. I mean, it was just frustrating, and there's times where I'm like, I just want to get past this level. I don't want to find this bathroom where the mirror shows a guy's reflection and I get scared,
Oh, yeah, and I wanted to talk about just the nightmare fuel that this game provides at times, because basically I'd sum it up as these are all places that you don't want to be. I found it to be quite scary. Can I talk for a second about ceiling sacks?
Oh,
something I have not encountered in a game before, but literally a thing came up on the screen that said, optional mission, destroy all the ceiling sacks. And I thought, oh crap. These guys bust out of the ceiling and grab you and shriek in your face. And I did not see that coming, so I did quite a bit of jumping while I played Condemned. But then again, I jumped, playing Bliss Island last week on Xbox Live, so it doesn't say a whole lot. But still, the mirror scene, the cinematic effect of having a person's reflection in the mirror, that I didn't see coming. And I can say from the later levels, particularly a part with a giant bear, it's a very cinematic game, and I view that as a pro. It sounds like you're not quite as impressed as I was.
Yeah, I don't think I am. It was a lot of stuff going on, and so, like I said, you can see the production value. It is neat that, like, you'll find some interesting stuff if you go off on a side path.
Yeah, let's talk about the sort of variety of gameplay that there is here, because I think people are getting the sense of a punch 'em up kind of game, and it certainly has that as the main focus. But there's also adventure and even like little timed action elements in here. You want to talk about that a little bit?
So the neat thing is that you'll show up and there'll be a crime scene there, and an icon will appear on the screen saying "Investigate Scene."
It's CSI Bum Fights.
Yes, that should be the actual title of the game.
There you go. Copyrighted today.
And you'll usually get people over the headset there saying, we need to figure out what happened in this crime scene, or we need to figure out what building you're in, or something like that. So then you'll enter into this mode where you're looking around and just examining the room, examining writing on the wall. You can pull out a UV light some of them are actually pretty darn difficult. They're up there with other things. Like, you have to think creatively to solve these problems.
That was sort of what started to endear me to this game was, besides the nice graphics, it's got surprisingly cerebral elements. And these investigation parts, I thought, could go on even longer, and of course they're only a segment of the game.
I almost feel like it doesn't quite gel well. I mean, this is all my opinion.
Oh, sure.
I obviously
No, it's good. But I'm glad people are hearing both sides of this, too.
Right. One of the very first things that, like, you come across that was a neat little addition was to receive more information. You can go up to a TV and adjust its antenna.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is neat.
It's cool.
But this guy on the screen who's supposed to provide me information basically just calls me an a-hole and tells me that he's important. And what am I supposed to be thinking? Like, yeah, this is so edgy, No, I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking like, well, would you just tell me why?
It's disorienting, but I somehow was able to overlook that. The thin scraps of story were enough for me to get by from place to place, and maybe for the listener, you have to decide, how much you care about the storyline.
Well, any final thoughts on the game?
At least it still is not as thin a story as the thinnest story I've ever experienced in gaming, which is the PlayStation game 1. I don't know if you wanted to elaborate. It's literally one line.
I made a mistake.
There you go.
Which is actually kind of, enthralling, because you're wondering, did he make a mistake or did he make him a steak?
Yeah, you're not quite sure. Either way, it sends him on a killing spree for the next couple hours of the game. That must have been some mistake.
Or some delicious steak there.
Yeah, but my final thoughts for me is that, while it is at times very, Slipknot, it also, it manages to surprise with its adventure-type elements and its just immersive quality. I would recommend it. And again, not for the faint of heart. There are a lot of freaky ceiling sacks in this game.
All right, and I would say I would recommend somebody rent this. Hopefully your preferences in games aren't as selective as mine, and you actually can see past some of the stuff, or get really excited about a guy on the TV calling you an a-hole.
Well, hey, come on. I didn't get excited about that, but in this season where Smash Brothers is dominating, I think this is a very different kind of game.
Absolutely.
There is the most graphic dead bodies that I've seen in a game, period. It's in pretty visceral detail, and so that is a disclaimer, of course. But it's going to be a different kind of experience, of course, than Smash Brothers.
So yeah, definitely. So it's a good game, good graphics. I would say bad writing. I'll probably play through it until I have to return it. See what else I can get out of it. But I'm not going to buy this game.
You're not? Oh, there goes your birthday present. Sorry, man. I guess you already know what it is.
That does it for our review segment of the show. And now we'd just like to take a time to sit back, bite the tops off a little wax soda bottle.
Oh, yeah.
And have some nostalgia time. So, do you remember Marvel trading cards?
Yes, I do. In fact, I still have, I was just thinking about this the other day, I still have a binder with them in as good condition as possible. I don't know if they're mint condition.
Yeah, man, I remember that binder of stuff. Half of my exposure to, like, the comic book universe comes from that binder full of cards that we'd collect almost every week. Really got fun, The cards would link together sort of like a puzzle, And as you would buy more packs, you'd get more of these, little bits in the puzzle.
Right.
And I would always, I remember, every time we would get a new pack of trading cards, the first thing I would do is try and find, is there the missing piece of this picture?
Right. And I mentioned in the Invincible show that I've recently gotten into comics again, but that was during the heyday of the sort of 90s image boom, and Rob Liefeld was a big inspiration for me as an artist. And I was just collecting all kind of comics just for the art, strictly. I didn't care about the stories, but yeah, those cards were one of the parts of that fever around comics in that time. And it's good to know that there are good comics coming out still, and we can get back into them at any time and keep reading them.
Yeah, and if you are one of those people who enjoyed collecting cards as a kid, or have any other sort of geek nostalgia things you did or were into while growing up, please send us an email. It's mail@growingupgeek.com. That's with 2 dashes. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week. Until then, I'm Rob.
And I'm Brad.
Later.